here with Rob Ream today. I met Rob years ago in the restaurants where I used to work at. He always used to supply produce for us, and in like recent times during this quarantine we started to volunteer for him out here with our culinary team at his farm. So we're out here basically, and wanted to talk to Rob a little bit. So Rob, what got you into farming and agriculture?
I grew up with it. It's my father's father owned a little grocery store in the small town in southern Michigan I grew up with, and my mother's father had started several farms, retired several times, then money would disappear and then he'd start back up. And I grew up with his gardens, both of their gardens, but really my mother's father's gardens always were huge, always were pretty varied. Fruit trees, I learned to make wine from him. That's always been here. And fast forward a lot of years, and when I quit being a general contractor building restaurants and bars, I already had a garden in, and one of my favorite places at the time to go get craft beers on tap, because nobody had them really yet, did flatbread pizzas, and they were talking about our basil supply is horrible, we don't know what to do, and I said, I can fix that. 3 weeks later I had over 300 basil plants in with I think 13 or 14 different varieties.
Nice.
And the guy still never bought a damn thing from me. But I started in farmers markets, and it just kind of grew from there, because I'm building these restaurants and these guys are going, well, what have you got that we can use? So when I finally quit building restaurants, this became more of a thing. So it's just kind of expanded from a small 20 by 30 foot garden to an acre and a quarter.
Also, very important for us right now is soil sustainability. What do you got us to? What can you tell us about soil sustainability and what goes with that?
There's a lot that goes with that. But soil, it all comes down to soil, even including your health. So we use organic practices, and we do a lot with composting. We will occasionally add something, supplementing things. But more and more of the research is showing us that there's mushroom networks of mycorrhizas that are in the dirt that actually do ion transfers from the minerals that are in the dirt, from the rocks and granules. They pick up the ions and transfer it, and then they're also in the roots of the plants. And so they do the root transfers like that. And you need healthy soils in order for that stuff to live. So we work an awful lot on building those soils up. And part of what we do with that too is when you go through here and you look, you'll see some different things that are growing together, usually accidentally, but that's perfectly fine because they take different forms of mycorrhizas to do that. And I don't get real paranoid about pulling weeds unless they're out competing plants, because again, the same thing. And every year we take the landscape fabrics off and we will add compost and work it into the soil. And we do not deep till. We only go down about 3 or 4 inches to keep that structure in place.
So we were talking about composting, wanted to hit on that a little bit. Composting and the benefit of having a compost pile, even as a home gardener on a private base.
It's one of the best things that you can do for your plants, because when you take your vegetables or your fruits away, you're also removing carbon from the soil and some of the nutrients and all that. So at some point the soils need a little help being replenished, and so when you compost, you're breaking down all the other things out of that existing plant fiber, and it breaks down into more soil, and you can just work that back in, and it makes your soils work so much better without going to Walmart and buying some of the synthetically manufactured, which and the plants actually take this up better than they do most of the synthetics. And the synthetics have a tendency to damage the mycorrhizae networks.
Okay.
So this is what soil that's been composted and worked with compost. This is what this looks like. So you saw what I had to do to get this dirt to come up. And this is the difference. This is pretty devoid of structure, as well as it has to have, right now it has to have all these artificial supplements on it in order to get these beans to grow. And they grow corn in here too.
Well, thank you so much, Rob, for answering those important questions, like, and talking about all of that to us right now. Thank you for having us out here. It's like, I know our team thoroughly enjoys being out here and getting the hands-on farming experience, and also learning so much in regards to farming and like the special organic produce that you've grown out here and everything. And yeah, thank you again for
Organic
having
dogs.
us.
You're welcome. I'm glad you guys are out here.